Man, it seems like whatever I do, I just can't learn this language. Hola, bienvenidos a todos a mi canal Spanish Blueprints. My name is Joshua, and a big reason why I have this channel is to give you effective tips so that does not happen to you and you won't stop learning your target language. That's why in this video, you're going to be learning about the best habits to be a successful language learner. One habit that you need to develop is thinking in your target language. Now, this has helped me a lot with memorization, learning new words, and figuring out what I do not know. It's also going to help you stay in that Italian, Spanish, or French mentality throughout the whole day. So a lot of language learning students, they will study at one point during the day, right? But then when they're not studying, they may not be thinking at all in their target language. And that's what I want to prevent. I don't want you to have these very hard shifts from when you're not studying to when you are studying, because it's quite difficult to come back home after a long day of work and then just start thinking in your target language. I remember when I wasn't thinking in Spanish and I would come back home after a very long day at work, and it was very difficult for me just to sit down and study and get back into the flow of things because I already had a big break in my Spanish studies. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, I don't really know any vocabulary in my target language because I just started, so I can't really do that. But the same principle applies to you as well. What you need to do is just think about what you know. For example, I just started learning French this year and my vocabulary is very, very low. So I probably only know maybe, let's say, 4 phrases and maybe 10 words. So not a lot at all, but I still try to think about those words and those phrases throughout the day. Another reason why you should think in your target language is so you can figure out what you don't know. I am always thinking in Spanish throughout the day. And just a few hours ago, I was building my new bookcase. It came with screws and nails, and the instructions said that you should use a mallet and a screwdriver. So I actually had to look up a lot of this vocabulary because when I was thinking in Spanish, I realized that I did not know a lot of this vocabulary. As you continue to develop this thinking habit, you're going to realize that it also becomes easier to speak in your target language. That's why a lot of language students have trouble speaking because they aren't able to construct the right sentence in their mind. The next habit that you want to develop is speaking out loud in your target language. Now, at first, I know it feels very uncomfortable and unnatural, but as long as you develop this habit, it'll become a lot easier for you to do. And this is going to help you a lot with pronunciation and also for speaking more fluidly. Because sometimes even when we have the right sentence structure already in our heads, when we try to say that, it is not the same. So the more that you practice saying new vocabulary out loud, whether that's on a flashcard, if it's in your notebook, or if it's on Anki or something like that, is really going to help you build your confidence as well. You're also going to learn how to express yourself and how to be less robotic in your new language. So one thing that I like to do is read a book in my target language so I can practice that. So instead of just reading in my head, this is going to make the reading experience a lot more entertaining. And of course, put some energy into it so you can sound less robotic. So don't just say a few sentences like, espero varios minutos, Jorge no aparecía luego, espero casi una hora, y Jorge seguía sin aparecer. You're going to do this instead. Espero varios minutos, y Jorge no aparecía luego, espero casi una hora, y Jorge seguía sin aparecer. Repetition is the habit that you are going to use to make everything that you're learning stick into your head. And I think with a lot of language learners, we underestimate how many times we may need to repeat saying a new word, a new phrase before we can actually say it properly. And the same thing when it comes to memorizing the definition and understanding its full context. And that is why thinking and speaking out loud is really going to help you with repetition. If I'm trying to pronounce a word in this book and I keep saying it wrong, I'm going to keep doing it over and over again. Ruido, ruido, ruido. And the same thing if you forget the definition of a word. So all you would have to do is take out your dictionary and look it up. And this applies basically to any kind of learning strategy that you're using and any type of language learning resource that you're using as well. So if you're listening to Spanish music, you are going to listen to that song maybe over and over again. You're going to look at the lyrics over and over again until you have it memorized. If you are reading a book, you may need to read over a paragraph over again to fully understand it, or even the whole book itself. And I've definitely watched the same episode of a TV show on Netflix over and over again, and I was able to understand it better and better with each repetition. Make sure that you include writing during your language learning journey. As humans, we tend to forget a lot of details in your life, and that's where writing becomes very important. This can consist of writing new vocabulary down in your notebook or on flashcards, or it could also be you writing down sentences to help you remember different grammar concepts. In this notebook, I write down a ton of new words and phrases that I learned from my Spanish-speaking friends, also that I hear on different TV shows that I watch, and also lyrics of songs that I listen to. I also have a whole bunch of nouns, verbs, and adjectives written out with a whole bunch of example sentences. You can also just make your own daily journal so you can practice your writing in this way, whatever comes to your head or whatever has happened throughout the day. Usually when I'm writing like that, I figure out in the first paragraph that I definitely wrote something wrong. Setting goals for yourself like yearly, monthly, or daily can really help you with the direction and the clarity of your studies. There have been many days just this year where I felt like I was in limbo because I was not sure of what I should study that day because I was not looking at the goals that I set this year. So honestly, with those days, I did not study that much at all because I just did not have any direction and I didn't know what to do. Once you have this habit of setting goals, you also need to make sure that they're always on your mind so you don't forget about them like I did. Then your day becomes a lot more organized and structured. So if you want to read a book and you also want to watch some TV shows, listen to music in your target language, you're going to start doing that because that is a part of your goals. Setting goals also helps you to stay focused, motivated, and consistent because you are always striving to reach that goal. Once you set your language learning goals, you're also going to want to build a habit of tracking them. And this can be done in many different ways. So if you're reading a book, you can count the number of paragraphs or pages that you have finished in one day. If it's songs, you can count the number of songs that you have memorized, or you can count the number of lyrics that you learned. Even track your language learning goals with hours. So the amount of hours that you're reading a book, or the amount of hours that you are having conversations with a native speaker in your target language. You can count the number of hours of all the ITALKI lessons that you have had this year, or even the amount of hours that you have watched Netflix. And I'm pretty sure that won't really be hard to increase. Consistency is a habit that you need as a language learner so that you can move forward and see progress during your language learning journey. You can only make so much progress if you say that you want to start having conversations with a native speaker in your target language, but you're also taking months off of learning your language. I set a goal for myself at the beginning of this year that I was going to learn a ton of vocabulary every single month because I really had a strong desire to be conversational by the end of this year. I can't remember right now how many words it was, maybe 20 or 30 words, but I should probably figure that out. But I started to write out my flashcards because that is one method that I love to use to learn vocabulary. And then I took about, like a 3-month break from writing out my flashcards. I just started writing out my French flashcards again last week. So that's incredibly inconsistent. And I could have had probably over 100 vocabulary words memorized by now. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. As well, in the description box of this video, you can find other videos of mine that are going to help you maintain these good habits. Nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.